History remembers its endings. The sack of cities. The fall of capitals. The moment the banners come down. But history rarely remembers the quiet decisions. The ones that don't look important at the time, yet change everything. This is the story of one of those moments. A turning point that didn't happen on a battlefield. No emperor made a speech. No army marched in triumph. And yet, after this moment, the ancient world was never the same again. The myth of sudden collapse. We like to believe empires fall suddenly. Rome is sacked. A dynasty is overthrown. A civilization collapses in flames. It feels clean. Understandable. Dramatic. But real collapse almost never works that way. Empires usually die from decisions that seem reasonable at the time. From compromises. From temporary solutions. And one of the most important of those decisions happened in the year 375 CE, on the edge of the Roman world. At a quiet river called the Danube. It's a moment most history books mention in passing. But it changed the fate of Europe. Rome before the turning point. By the late 4th century, Rome was still powerful. But no longer invincible. The empire stretched across continents. Its roads still bound the world together. Its laws still shaped daily life. But the cracks were there. Economic pressure. Political instability. A military stretched thin. And beyond Rome's borders, something was moving. Entire peoples were on the move. Not as raiders, but as refugees. The people at the gates. They were called the Goths. Farmers. Families. Warriors, yes, but also children and elders. They weren't marching to conquer Rome. They were running from a terrifying new force exploding out of the Eurasian steppe. The Huns. The Huns didn't just defeat their enemies. They unmade them. Villages vanished. Tribes dissolved. Survival meant fleeing west. Straight toward Roman territory. And so, tens of thousands of Goths arrived at the Danube frontier. On the Roman side stood guards, officials, and commanders. Men trained to repel invaders. But these weren't invaders. They were starving. And they begged to be let in. The decision. Rome faced a choice. Turn them away. And risk driving desperate people into violent rebellion. Or let them cross. And absorb them into the empire. Rome had done this before. For centuries, Rome had integrated outsiders. Settled them. Taxed them. Recruited them into the army. So the decision was made. The Goths would be allowed to cross the Danube. They would settle on Roman land. They would become subjects of the empire. On paper, it was humane. Practical. Even wise. But what followed was catastrophic. The failure no one planned for. Rome didn't prepare. Officials were corrupt. Supplies were inadequate. Roman commanders exploited the refugees. Selling them dog meat at extortionate prices. Enslaving their children. What was meant to be integration became humiliation. Hunger turned into anger. Anger turned into revolt. And suddenly, inside Roman territory, there was an entire population with nothing left to lose. This wasn't an invasion from outside. This was a rebellion from within. The battle that proved the point. In 378 CE, Rome tried to fix the problem the old way. With force. The Emperor Valens marched his army against the Goths near Adrianople. It was supposed to be a quick victory. It became one of the worst defeats in Roman history. The Roman army was annihilated. Valens was killed. An emperor died on the battlefield, something that hadn't happened in centuries. But Adrianople wasn't the real turning point. It was the consequence. The real turning point was the decision at the river. Why this moment mattered. After 375, Rome was different. For the first time, massive, semi-autonomous groups existed inside imperial borders. They weren't fully Roman. They weren't fully outside. They negotiated with emperors as equals. They fought for Rome. And against it. The empire no longer controlled who entered its world. It reacted instead of deciding. And that shift, from control to accommodation, changed everything. The domino effect. Once the precedent was set, it couldn't be undone. More groups followed. Vandals, Swabi, Alans. Each crossing weakened Rome's authority a little more. Not because these peoples were inherently destructive, but because Rome could no longer absorb them fast enough. The system that had built the empire was now overloaded. The quiet transformation. Rome didn't fall in 375, or 378, or even 410. It transformed. The Western Empire slowly fragmented into successor kingdoms. Roman law survived. Roman culture endured. But imperial unity was gone. All because of a decision made under pressure. By officials trying to solve a short-term crisis. The pattern of history. This is why this turning point matters. Not just for Rome, but for every empire that followed. Empires rarely collapse because of one enemy. They collapse because systems built for stability can't adapt fast enough to change. And the most dangerous moments are the ones that don't feel dangerous at all. The lesson we keep forgetting. History barely mentions the Danube crossing of 375. No burning city. No dramatic speech. Just a gate opening. And a world quietly shifting. Because history doesn't end when walls are breached. It ends when decisions meant to save the present sacrifice control of the future. Ending reflection. Empires don't fall when they are conquered. They fall when they stop choosing and start reacting. Rome didn't know it at the time. But at the banks of the Danube, the ancient world crossed a line it would never recross. Every empire falls. But their stories remain. If you want more stories like this, the moments history barely mentions, but everything depends on. Subscribe to Silent Empires. Because the past isn't silent. We just stopped listening.